Hello, dear students. Welcome back to this English class. Children, let's continue with chapter number 6 Brown Wolf. Remember, students, we have covered quite a bit of this lesson in the previous two sessions. I hope you watched the video Brown Wolf Part A and Part B. So, today let's conclude and see what happens. So, let's get started. Brown Wolf Part C, written by Jack London. A quick recap. We learnt about a dog who has lost his way home and is wandering around. He's searching for his master's house and he arrives at the cottage of Walt and Madge. Walt and Madge are nice and they take good care of him and they try to be friendly, but he does not respond to them because he is feeling homesick and he wants to go back to his master's house. He tries many times to go, but then each time he goes, all his attempts are futile and finally decides to stay at Walt and Madge's house. And then he opens up, he becomes friendly with them. Then one day as they're strolling along on the country road, they come across a stranger, that is Skiff Miller, who's come in search of his sister. Now when the dog hears his voice, he gets alerted and he becomes friendly with them. Walt and Madge are very shocked to see him opening up to a stranger because he has never been so friendly with any stranger. In fact, even with Walt and Madge, he had allowed him to touch him only after a year. It was only recent time that he has allowed them to touch, and whereas for others, he just would growl and snarl. So now they are very amazed that he is being friendly with a stranger. Then Skiff Miller recognizes him and he says that that dog belongs to him. So Walt and Madge are very shocked, and then Skiff Miller tries to prove it. So he gives him some command and the dog responds to every command that he shoots out. So this proves that he is Skiff Miller's dog. Now there's a debate. Walt and Madge do not want to give away the dog because they have started liking him. They're very fond of him and they want him to stay with them. But Skiff Miller also doesn't want to give up the dog. So now there's a debate, and finally let's see what happens. So this is what we had covered so far. Let's read. "But you're not going to take him away with you?" Madge asked tremulously. "No, he won't," Walt announced in a determined voice. "Perhaps you want to sell him. We can buy him." Skiff Miller shook his head and said, "I reckon there's nothing in sight to prevent me taking the dog right here and now, and I ain't selling him." "But what about the dog?" Madge cried. "Have you considered the dog?" Skiff Miller looked puzzled. So now what's happening? Madge is very nervous. She asks tremulously, means shaky voice, nervous voice, that you're not going to take him, right? Because now Skiff Miller has proved that he is his dog. So now Madge is scared. So she's saying that, but now you'll not take him, correct? Because he's been with us now for a year. So Walt says that no, he will not take. And even if he wants to take, probably he might sell him and we can buy. Okay. Now this is what Walt thinks. But now Skiff Miller refuses this offer. And he says, no way I'm going to sell him because, and no one is going to stop me from taking him. He is my dog. Okay. And I will take him along. So then Madge now knows that they are going to lose, and then so she doesn't want to give away the dog, so she tries hard. So then finally she thinks of a plan, and then she says that, what about the dog? You need to ask the dog. That means you need to consider the dog's decision. That is, let the dog decide. Now Skiff Miller looks puzzled because he thinks that why are they insisting when the dog actually belongs to him? So he looks puzzled. Okay, let's read further. Let's take the meanings. Tremulously means with a shaky voice. I reckon means I think. Puzzled is confused. Okay. Read. Maybe the dog has some choice in the matter, Madge went on. Maybe he has his likes and desires. It has never entered your mind that possibly he would like to stay here and not go back. That was a new way of looking at it, and Miller was clearly debating about in his mind. Madge realized he was unsure and used the opportunity to persuade him. that the dog had a choice. If you really love him, what would make him happy would make you happy too, she urged. Miller thought for a while and said slowly, Your remarks, ma'am, have some weight in them. Well, we'll let him choose. Whatever he says goes. You people stay right here. I'll say goodbye and walk off. If he wants to stay, he can stay. If he wants to come and walk with me, let him come. I won't call him to come, and don't you call him to come back. Fine, we'll play fair, Madge said. Okay, now what's it? There's a deal being done here. When Madge says that let the dog take the decision because she's hopeful that the dog will decide to stay with them. Okay, so she's very hopeful. So this is the decision, this is the suggestion she makes. So Miller agrees to that because he's very confident the dog will definitely opt to come with him, and Madge and Walt are confident that he would want to stay with them. So then there's a deal done here. So they decide, and Miller then suggests that I'll act as though I'm going, and so let's see whether he comes behind me, and if he comes behind me, you will not call him, okay? And if he doesn't come behind me and he stays with you, I will also not call him, okay? So this is what Miller says. So Matt says, okay, that's fine. So that is fair enough. So we'll play fair means yes, we will not cheat, okay? Let's take the meanings. Your remarks have weight means what you say makes sense. This is what Miller tells Madge, okay? Play fair means we won't cheat. Let's to avoid cheating, to be fair, to be just. Let's read further. Fine, we'll play fair, Madge said. Well then, I might as well be getting along, Skiff Miller said, in the ordinary tones of one departing. At this change in his voice, Wolf lifted his head quickly and still more quickly got to his feet when the man and woman shook hands. He sprang up on his hind legs, resting his forepaws on her hips, and at the same time licking Skiff Miller's hand. When the latter shook hands with Walt, Wolf repeated his act, resting his weight on Walt and licking both men's hands. Okay, children, now what's happening? I hope you've understood. Let's discuss. Okay, now when Madge agrees to Skiff Miller's decision, okay, suggestion that yes, let's play fair, we'll let the dog decide. So then Skiff Miller, as per the plan, moves, okay, and he says, okay, I'm going along, and he shakes Madge's hands. Just then Wolf, now when he knows that Skiff Miller is leaving, so when Skiff Miller and Madge shake hands, he places his forepaws from one's front legs on Madge's hip and licks Skiff Miller's hand. When Walt and Skiff Miller are shaking hands, he repeats the same act by putting his weight on Walt and licking both their hands. Now this is a way of expressing. Children, have you understood what he means to express? He wants to say that he would want all of them to stay together and he would be happy to stay with all of them together, okay? Now this is what dogs are. They're very faithful on people who are shown, given them love and care, okay? So he's faithful to Skiff Miller as well as to Walt and Madge, though for a very brief time they must have looked after him, but then he wants to show his faithfulness, okay? So the best option that he wishes is he wants to stay with all of them, okay? So this is his expression. Let's read further. It ain't going to be easy, I can tell you that, were the Clondicle's last words as he turned and went slowly up the trail. For some time Wolf watched him go. Then with a quick low whine, he sprang after him, overtook him, caught his hand between his teeth and strode gently to make him pause. Now what happens? Skiff Miller moves away. He goes away from them. And Wolf watches. He is very shocked, okay? And suddenly he makes a low whine, means that is a sad sound, and he goes running after him, and he tries to catch Skiff Miller's hand between his teeth and strove means tried. He tries to make him pause. Pause means to stop. He tries to stop Skiff Miller from moving away, okay? He doesn't want him to go away. Let's read further. Retreating, moving away. Nudging means pushing to seek attention. Eyes were fixed up the trail means staring ahead at the trail. Broke into a trot means began to trot. Let's read further. Failing in this, Wolf raced back to where Walt Irwin sat, catching his coat sleeve in his teeth and trying vainly to drag him after the retreating man. He then turned his attention to Madge. He snuggled his head in her lap, nudging her arm with his nose, an old trick of his when begging for favors. This too he soon abandoned when they did not move. Wolf waited for a long moment silently and quietly. Now what happens? He goes behind Skiffmiller trying to stop him. But then Skiffmiller moves on as per the plan. He goes ahead, and then finally when the dog sees that Skiffmiller isn't stopping, he goes back to Walt and Madge. He tries to try his ways of asking them to tell Skiffmiller to stop. But then as per the plans, they also don't say anything. They just stand there quietly. Okay, they do not move. And the dog is desperately trying to tell Walt and Madge to ask Skiffmiller to stop. And he's also tried telling Skiffmiller to stop. But then he fails. Now he has to take a decision. Children, he has to take a decision. They are not willing to stay together as per his, that is what he wanted. So now he has to take a decision. He's finding it very difficult to decide. And then finally what happens? Let's read. Then he was on his feet. He had made up his mind. His eyes were fixed up the trail. He broke into a trot which turned into a run. Not once did he turn his head. He cut sharply across the curve of the trail and was gone. So children, have you understood what happens? Yes. Now the dog finally has to decide. So finally what does he do? Now Skiffmiller has gone ahead. So what he does? He tries his level best trying to convince both of them to stay together, but he fails. He is not able to convince them. Now he has to decide with whom he is going to stay. Then finally he finds it very difficult, but then he decides, he takes his decision, and then he goes after Skiffmiller. Okay, he goes walking slowly, and then he goes running behind Skiffmiller because he's gone far ahead. And then he does not turn behind. He does not turn behind means it means he has taken a very firm decision that yes, he's going to go behind, going to stay with Skiffmiller because he has been his owner who has taken care of him earlier for so many years. Okay, also this also might mean that he is feeling sorry for Walt and Madge, and he doesn't have the courage to look at their sad face because he knows that they may be sad that he has taken this decision. So he doesn't have the courage to look at them, so he doesn't turn behind. So this means that he has taken a decision that there's no turning back. He has taken a firm decision. He'll be going after Skiffmiller, that he'll want to stay with them. Okay, and then he cut sharply across the curve of the trail and he was gone. So children, this is a story. Can you imagine? It must have been so difficult for the dog, right, to take this decision. But then finally he has made his choice, and he goes after his rightful owner, that is Skiffmiller, with whom he has been for so many years. Children, I hope you have understood the story well, and these are the notes. There you can see the image there. Walt and Madge are looking sadly, and yes, this dog is going after Skiffmiller. Okay, there's few notes. Walt and Madge and Skiffmiller decided to let the dog make the decision, the choice. The dog wanted them all to stay together. True. The dog rested his weight on Walt and licked both men's hands. It implied that he wanted to stay with all of them together. The dog finally made up his mind to stay with Skiffmiller. These are the few notes. Children, please watch the video again. Go through the meanings. Read the text. Please continue a habit of reading. Thank you for watching. Take care, children, and God bless you all.